Hi everyone, welcome to the Animal Reader. The Animal Reader is an animal news website, and every Wednesday we air a live talk show from Wormerveldam Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Today we're going to talk about Jo-Anne McArthur. Something for me which is really special about this interview is that she's the one who motivated me 10 years ago, or inspired me to eventually start the Animal Reader. So it's always a pleasure talking to her. Her third book just came out, Hidden. She's written 2 books before, We, Animals and Captivity, and we're going to talk to her about her new book now. Welcome, Jo-Anne.
Thank you. Thank
Hi.
you. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you again, too. Let's just jump into it. Hidden, what is the book about?
So, Hidden, and with the subtitle Animals in the Anthropocene, is a compilation of the work of 40 photojournalists. And it's a really stark, dark look at what we're doing to animals globally. It's a look at what is and should never again be. We created a book because we want to give the subject matter weight, literal weight. It's a 5-pound book, 320 pages. And it's a subject matter that needs to be seen and given this kind of platform the way other animals are given a platform, like pets and wildlife. But the hidden animals are the animals we have a very close relationship with, and yet we don't really see, we don't consider them as individuals. We eat them and we wear them. We use medicine that's tested on them, but they remain hidden.
So you've worked with 40 animal photojournalists for this book. Could you say something about other photographers besides yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. That's my favorite part was finding the work of these exceptional photographers. We went through thousands of images. My co-editor and I, his name's Keith Wilson, and for years I was looking at what photographers were doing globally, what kind of animal stories they were doing, and I was picking images off the internet and putting them into a folder, knowing I would do this book someday. And not all of them are considered animal photojournalists. Some of them are straight up photojournalists who have done animal stories.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the well known animal photojournalists in the book are Andrew Skowron from Poland. And we have some, many Europeans, in fact. And but we do have work that represents 6 of the continents. Um, yeah, one of the photographers is Aitor Garmendia. He's an interesting one. He is really hardcore with this work. He goes to every length to get into industries and take really, really strong, stunning images. It's important to have strong and beautiful images when you're documenting this kind of suffering and cruelty, because it's so easy for us to turn away from those images. We instinctively want to, because we don't want to face the suffering of others, especially when we are, partially or fully complicit in that. And so you have to create beautiful images, poignant images of moments and connection, so that people will want to engage with the images.
Yeah, because that is something we've talked about this before, but when you make like photos of these animals, everybody who does this, like you're also an animal rights activist, so you have a lot of love for animals. So you have to somehow turn it off, I think, your emotions, because all you're doing is documenting it. You're not saving the animal, you're not rescuing, you're documenting it, and you're trying to make the best picture. But how do you do that within yourself, like your feelings?
Yes, different photographers say that they turn off completely. I don't turn myself off completely because it's actually the empathy in me that probably is what makes me take really good pictures. It is very upsetting to see them in those conditions, but I know that when I or most of us gain access to a place where there's mass animal suffering, we have a very short amount of time to do a very good job. And so it's about staying calm in difficult situations. And it's the same thing with conflict photographers. I would say that animal photojournalism has some things in common with conflict photography and war photography because you're putting yourself in jeopardy. When we go into these places, we're often trespassing or they're surreptitiously. And so I've certainly had photographer friends who have been beaten up, who have had their cars trashed or their cameras trashed or have been put in jail. So these things come with risks, but I know that a lot of these photographers, myself included, are so dedicated to telling these stories, which we must do in these ways, because the amount of suffering is just absolutely incredible. Billions of animals every single day are kept and confined and killed for our use, and that is unnecessary. So while these industries are keeping these animals hidden, we will continue to push the limits and go the distance in order to get those images.
Yeah, and you say like something I saw also in your trailer, and that's something we're gonna show a video of, which is pretty graphic, but it's something you talked about. It was the first time I saw this, and these are turtles that are being cut out of their shell alive. We're going to watch that now. This is horrible to see. First of all, like I had never ever seen. I didn't even know this happened. How did you know about this, and how did you get to be so up close with these turtles?
I was at a fish market in Taipei, and there are what seemed to be at least 1 million animals in there on that one night alone. Huge baskets full of small fish. And this place, I mean, you can just walk and walk and walk around it all evening. And it's just an absolutely massive place. A lot of ground to cover, a lot of animals in there, a lot of trucks just pouring fish in and other kinds of animals. The turtles were there, and the turtles were being, as you said, and as you can see, were having their shells cut off their backs while alive. Um, Unbelievable, isn't it? That we wouldn't kill them first, but I guess I'm guessing it prolongs the freshness of the animal, perhaps. But it was that moment that I decided to do this book, Hidden. I had been thinking about it for several years, but my reaction to seeing intense suffering is often action. Action for me is catharsis. And so I got home to my hotel that night. It must have been about 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and I started creating the bones for this book. And here we are 2 years later with a book in hand, which is sold out already. We printed 2,000 copies. And I guess the book is timely because we sold out immediately. We also fundraised for the book with Indiegogo, and we carefully crafted this price, this amount of money that we needed for the book, which was $65,000. And we achieved that amount with all the support in 3 days. And now we are at over $200,000, which is wonderful. It's allowing us to go into a second print run. It's also allowing us to give away a lot of books free to influential people. So people are nominating all sorts of famous journalists and chefs and young influencers and people who will hopefully speak about this work and about the big problems in the book.
Congratulations, first of all, on selling the whole first edition. What do you think in 100 years and 200 years, when you and me are long gone, and people look at this book about these times, what do you think they'll say?
Well, as I often say with my work and this kind of work, it's a document of what is and should never again be. And my hope is that 100 years, 200 years from now, not my hope, I think it's realistic to say that we will have abolished factory farming, industrial farming. I know some people will laugh and think that that's a little bit naive, but we see every reason to do that. And it's not just about animal welfare. It's about the incredible pollution that we are causing. It's about human health. It's about burning down the Amazon to create space for crops, for soy, to feed to cattle. All these things that we're doing that are unnecessary. It's interesting to think about the amount of crops that are grown to feed animals that we eat. It's like the animal is the middle guy and we could just take them out. All sorts of proteins that we can eat just from the plant themselves. And we're coming around to realizing that with animal use in general, we're in a pandemic right now, which was caused by animal use. And so it seems like Mother Nature is really pushing down hard on us now and teaching us some lessons. And hopefully if we curb our animal use, we can also help curb climate change, restore what we can, what's left of the Amazon, and do better for ourselves, for the animals, and the planet.
And do you see that, because we are with more people, so I think in the West there's this whole vegan food, vegan restaurant, being conscious about the environment, that's really happening. But I asked you the same question a year ago, that there are now more animals in numbers. We are hurting more animals now than ever because there are so many people, and people, or even people like, for instance, India, that used to be very vegetarian, is now also eating more and more meat. In your 20 years of being an animal rights activist or longer, do you see, like, is there a turning point you see that we're actually going down with abusing animals?
Well, I think we're seeing both. From the research that I've done and from what I've heard, we are seeing a continued rise in animal use, especially as you mentioned in India and economically growing countries, the BRIC countries. We're seeing more animal use and more industrial farming, but we're also seeing globally a rise of vegetarianism, veganism, and a rise of plant-based foods. And in fact, the company, they're called Just, they just announced that in Singapore, they are going to be selling, this is the first country in the world that will be selling cultivated meat. This is going to be in restaurants, and this is all from one cell, from one animal. And they can grow meat, actual meat, to feed people who want to eat meat. So there's a lot of amazing tech, a lot of new horizons, a lot of new ways to feed people. And that's I'm also optimistic that that's part of how we're going to end animal agriculture.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I think that is to actually like create meat, actual meat, but then from one cell. That if that Singapore indeed started today, it's going to allow it from today. So if more countries, that could be a real turning point. That this is just this is happening now. The foreword in the book is from the actor Joaquin Phoenix. How did you get him? He's a really famous actor. How did you get him to write your foreword, and also what did he think about the book?
It was so exciting to reach out to him and to have a positive reply. And I had photographed him on numerous occasions within that last year. And so we knew of each other and of each other's work. And so when I reached out and said, we're doing this epic book and it could use your support, he said he would be honored to. That was lovely. and it's nice to to know that we are a fan of each other's work, and that he wrote a really stunning foreword. In fact, it's very direct and it's very, very strong. So not only do we have his name behind the book, but we also have a really strong piece of writing from him about what must be done and about animal liberation.
The book came out on the 17th of November. The first edition is sold out. What have people's responses been to this? Because the pictures I've seen so far, they're almost like new pictures. Like I said, the turtles already, I've never seen it before that happens. But what were the responses from people about the pictures? Because they're pretty graphic.
They are graphic, and I'll add to that, not just graphic. I think only some of them are graphic, but they're very emotional and strong and direct in their depiction of what we do to animals. So it's not just a book of blood and guts. I think it's a book of sadness. It's a book that reflects us and what we do. I mean, that's the thing about these animals, these hidden animals. That's that the story is about us. It's meant for us to be reflective, and people are. Lots of positive responses, and I'm really happy to say that the people who are buying the book, like, I don't know who they are. It's not the usual suspects in my life and the people who are often supporting the book. It's just all of these unknowns. And a lot of people from the Netherlands, in fact, are purchasing the book. I'd love to know who they are. We get lots of emails and messages every day about how it's affecting them and what they plan to do with the book. But the book unto itself, a few thousand copies, that won't make much of a difference. But we made the book so beautiful and so big and so well designed that it would be an artistic piece, a historic piece, and something that would be discussed in the media. So we are having really great coverage in The Guardian and in various news outlets globally. The book really says that this subject matter deserves attention, and it's doing the work that we wanted it to do. It's getting out there, and journalists and media and others are saying, this is interesting. This has never been done before. Let's talk about this. And let's especially talk about this given that it is proof of the issues we're facing in this pandemic and pollution and all the things I said earlier. So it's timely, and it's doing what it needs to do. And we're just at the beginning stage, really. I mean, we had to spend 2 years making the book, but now we're at the start line of promoting the book, talking about the book, and getting other people to talk about the book.
Will you be touring? Will you go from country to country? Or
well, touring, in fact, was a big plan, but we are in a pandemic, and so it's a little bit on hold. I'm doing many speaking engagements online. We have an exhibit opening in February in Germany, in Berlin, in fact, of the work. I was invited by the National Museum of Photography in Colombia to come and spend time talking about the work there and exhibiting the work, and the doors are just opening to this subject matter and to this project. So I imagine I have a couple of very busy years ahead of me getting this work out into the world.
And do you have in your brain already a hidden two in your head that you want to make that, or it's going to be just this one?
Just this one. This could go on forever, but I really don't want it to. I'm looking forward to undertaking other projects, and perhaps we'll do a book on stories of change and progress. That's also an important thing, is to show those and to inspire people. And we do that through We Animals Media. We do that through our Unbound project, which is women on the front lines of animal advocacy worldwide. And so that's important too. A book like Hidden is important to show what's going on, and the inspiring stories as well. I actually think I'm thinking about doing a book on resilience, and this would be more of a written thing. Something that we all need to think about and talk more about and be inspired to have and to build in our lives.
And I know you from the Ghost in Our Machine. That's like, I think 8 years ago already now, or 10 years ago. It's a while ago. There was a lot about the mink industry, where you see you making, you're being followed. It's a documentary about your life, or what you do about your work. The mink industry now, there's so much happening. A lot of in Denmark, in the Netherlands, people are killing them all over. Do you think this is the end of the mink industry, that it's coming?
That's a good question, and I hope so. It's very sad. I mean, Denmark is now a graveyard of 15 million, 17 million mink. mass burials. That's really shocking unto itself. That should give us all pause for thought. But we know that the fur industry is one that is for fashion. It is completely unnecessary. And it is being abolished and banned on grounds of animal welfare and cruelty in several countries. Most recently, Poland has decided to go fur free. Norway, who is a huge producer of fur, decided to go fur free as well, to ban fur farming, is what I mean. And it seems like the right thing to do for every reason. Put an end to an industry that is just frankly so shallow and employs so few people and is quite groundless. Yeah, mink farming is also polluting as well. On Canada's east coast, they denude the ocean of fish to feed the mink. You know, there's that angle as well. We don't think about where all their food comes from. Like, it's, you know, that fishing is unnecessary as well. So I think for farming, it's really time for it to end.
Yeah, it is complete time. It's also going to be such a horrible thing of us people to make it come back after we killed all of them. We've killed almost all the mink at mink farms, so it should be the end. It's going to be shocking if it still continues. It should be the end for many reasons. Thank you very much for your time. If you get to travel again and you'll pass by the Netherlands, I hope to see you then, if you're going to tour for the book Hidden. I always say this to you, you're a huge inspiration to me. Like, I've been following you for 10 years now, and I always say the same thing, but part of the Animal Reader is because I once saw you and you combined journalism and love for animals in one. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for your time.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad to hear it. And yeah, we've known each other for a while now. So thanks for continuing to help shine a light on my work. And in fact, I can't tell too many details, but I will be in the Netherlands next year. And when it's time to announce why, I'll be able to do that. So that's going to be quite exciting. And you and I should get together then.
Yes, we definitely will. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. Follow us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. And if you want to get the book, I'll put a link under this video. Thank you and see you next week.